Good morning, everyone. My name is Wade Younger, and I really appreciate you taking your time to discuss this sensitive subject, a subject that a lot of people have an issue with just talking about, and that's okay. Just to kind of give you just a brief history as far as who I am a sexual child abuse survivor. My abuse started when I was 4 years old, and it went on until I was 13. And as it was mentioned earlier, when a person is molested, a child is molested, you do sort of have an air of as a target for pedophiles. And so that happened in my case because it was about 9 different abusers until I was 13. I decided to hide it because I was ashamed. I felt like it was my fault. I felt like it was I was engaging in the practice, so I didn't do anything about it. It led to a point where, as a high schooler, as in early adulthood, went into promiscuity because you just sort of react in a way that you feel like you want to anesthetize or numb your emotions, and that's pretty normal. And after that, I didn't say anything about it until about 6 years ago, and then my life changed because relationships started to lose its buoyancy. My communications with the world started to just drop off. I started to really block off everyone from myself because it was this rage going on, and I really didn't know what it was. Well, I didn't know how to handle it. So basically, from there, I started to seek out therapy. I ended up on the Dr. Phil show. I ended up on Oprah. I started to speak, and my life has never been the same. But the interesting thing about this is, one of the things that has resonated with me is the fact that a child, even though they can experience the worst molestation, they can experience recovery. They can experience a place where they have healthy relationships and they can go out and help other people. But the thing is, it's up to people like us, people like Coach Simpson, to go out and help people understand that you have to have awareness, there has to be protection, there has to be situations where they can go out and tell their stories, and this is a show where you can get help. So basically that's where we are today. So I'm really happy to talk about this sensitive subject that we all need in this society. And it's interesting because every minute, we've been here about 35 minutes, every minute, 114 kids have been molested, every minute, 114. 150 million girls, 50 million boys have experienced sexual child abuse. That's 20% of America. And if you think about 20% of America, 20% of America experiences allergies. And we see allergy commercials all over the place. 20% of America experiences depression. We see depression commercials. Same thing with arthritis and diabetes, 20%. But the same 20% are experiencing sexual child abuse. So it shows that it's a very prevalent thing, and it's up to us to do something about it. It's interesting to note, in the Middle East, there was this kid, his name was Tamar. And Tamar's family, they raised and herded sheep. And his responsibility every day was to get the sheep from the pastures into the gate. But it was sort of a boring job. So what Tamar would do is, as the sheep transferred into the gate, he would get a stick and he would hold it out and he would make the sheep jump the stick as they would go into the gate. And after about 10 or 11 sheep would jump, he would remove the stick, and guess what would happen? The sheep would continue to jump. And he would laugh. And he would do that every day. But one particular day, he was running late. So he had to get the sheep into the gate. It was getting dark. Come on, sheep, let's get in here. And as the sheep was approaching the gate, guess what they would do? Even though there was no stick, they would jump anyway. Because it was a learned behavior. As coaches, as teachers, as counselors, as parents, we see a lot of people jumping this sensitive subject because that's what we do. It's so ugly. What do I do? What do you mean someone's having sex with a 7-year-old? What do you mean someone's having sex with a 13-year-old? What do? You almost want to jump the subject, but we can't do it. We can't do that. It's almost like an elephant in the room. No, exactly, it is an elephant in the room. But think about circus elephants for just a minute. The way they train elephants in circuses is they take a band and they attach it to the back hind leg of the elephant with a heavy chain attached to a very heavy stake driven deep in the ground. Pull as it may, the elephant can't move. He becomes desensitized to the fact that I can't move forward. By the time an elephant is fully grown, a rope attached to a stick, barely anchored in the ground, is enough to stop a 13,000-pound elephant from moving. Why? He's conditioned to believe, I can't break free. Even though it's an elephant in the room, do you want our children to feel like they can't break free? Do you want them to feel like it doesn't take a lot to hold me down? As coaches, we want fighters. We want people with intestinal fortitude. Sexually abused kids don't have intestinal fortitude because they're broken. But if we simply ask the question, is someone touching you or approaching you inappropriately? Is someone touching you inappropriately? Is that happening with you? And we're really comfortable asking the question, are you on drugs? No, good, stay off of that. Are you drinking alcohol? Good, stay off of that. Are you having inappropriate sex? Okay, good, stay off of that. That's okay, because our society has taught us we can talk about that. This conversation, not so much. So that's the thing we want to do. So what can we do? Well, we want to show support. We want to show interest, take time, and just talk to them. And you know how it is with kids. You could play basketball, kick a soccer ball, and play football with them all within 30 minutes, and they're ready for more. But that's fine. Just spend time with them, and then start the conversation about what's appropriate and inappropriate in regards to relationships. If you're here today, most likely your life won't be the same. And let me tell you why. How many of us, by show of hands, have bought a new car? Maybe not brand new, but new to us. Now, if you had that car, after about 2 or 3 days, what do you notice around town? Everybody has bought the same green Pinto you bought, right? You start to see the same car. Why is that the case? It's in your consciousness, it's in your awareness. You start to notice because it's in your sphere. Because we're talking about sexual child abuse today, your life isn't going to be the same because you start to recognize behavior. You start to recognize scars. You start to want to ask the question. And that's a great thing. Because, again, every minute, 114 children are being sexually molested. Well, what is it like? What is it like for a child when they're being molested? What is it like in their daily life? This is the best way to illustrate it. Just imagine for just a second, I have a blackboard behind me. An old-fashioned blackboard when we were in school with chalk. And what I decide to do is I take my fingernails and I start to scratch this chalkboard. How does that feel? You want me to stop, don't you? And I decide to do it again. And I start to scratch really slowly again. Now look at your faces. Notice, there's no chalkboard. I'm not scratching anything. But it shows this is the torment that kids go through when they've been molested. It's almost like this videotape of something that's excruciating as a scratching chalkboard. So that's why they want to be involved in drugs and alcohol and promiscuity. They want to anesthetize or just numb the emotion, just shut it out some kind of way. So it's up to us to intervene. It's up to us to ask the question. It's up to us to help them to move from where they are to where they want to be. And as a concluding thought, for a long time, overall this world, or the people in this world, thought that the earth was flat. Because if you went to the beach, it seemed that way. And for a long time, we thought that secondhand smoke was harmless, because it just seemed that way. And for a long time, we thought that seat belts were something that was an optional apparatus, and we got in the car if we wore it or not. It's okay, but it wasn't okay. It just seemed that way. And if we think about that story of Tamar and the sheep jumping the invisible barrier, they jumped because they thought something was there, because it just seemed that way. So for us, as we move forward, as we interact with our children, whether it's our children or the children in our community, if we feel like we can ignore them, or our boys will soldier on, or that it's okay to let someone else do it, don't. Because it only seems that way. Thank you.